This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live.
Good evening. It's a little bit late starting. Hopefully you can hear me, and welcome to the Toby and Ed late chat show on Teachers Talk Radio. Yes, Lucy is in the house. That means things are working. Hopefully Lucy can hear me. Could you give me the thumbs up? Tim Chem Commando is in the house. Give me the thumbs up that you can hear what I'm saying. All good.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org, or to join in the conversation, download the Podbean app and search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TTRadio. Tune in, talk it out with Teachers Talk Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is just after 9 o'clock on a Wednesday evening, the 31st of August. It is the Late Chat Show with Toby Payne-Cook, that's me, and my good friend Ed Finch, who will be online very, very soon. And you're listening to Teachers Talk Radio, and we are back after a long summer, after a crazy summer, and in fact, a rather spontaneous day out trip to London for me today. So I'm not quite back and relaxed and ready, but I've got my large glass of Malbec here, which I can sip away at. I'm waiting for Ed. Where is Ed? Anyway, so and I'm going to play some sound effects just so that I can sort of hear that there is sound working, because it's weird when I can't get the jingle to play. Uh-oh. Does that work? Can you hear the uh-ohs, listeners? Good evening, Tim. Good evening, Lucy. I hope you've had lovely summers. I know I've been largely absent from the Twitter sphere for a whole host of reasons. It's been an incredibly busy summer, and I'm actually quite looking forward to getting back to normality. Anyway, where is Ed? Have I got call-ins allowed? Yes. No callers right now. Oh, I maybe need to go and pick up my phone, which is over there somewhere, to check that.
This episode of Teachers Talk Radio has been made possible with support from Witherslack Group, the UK's leading provider of SEN education and care. They're here to support you too through an ever-growing offer of free resources, including webinars, podcasts, articles, and events aimed at supporting teaching professionals like you. Visit their website at www.witherslackgroup.co.uk to find out more. This is 2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
Hello, this week I continue with my series on home connection and getting the best performance. The question today is wired or wireless connection. Which is best? In the past, a wired connection was considered the fastest, and this would be the end of the episode. However, modern wireless speeds are comparable with a wired connection. So what factors affect performance? The first factor to consider is, can you actually connect via a wire? Some devices don't have an Ethernet or compatible port to have a wired connection. Being hardwired allows a more stable connection. You're not relying on high frequency waves to transmit your data, and waves are susceptible to interference in the shape of distance from the transmitter receiver, in human language, your hub. Then there are walls, furniture, other devices, basically anything that gets in the way. So the first tip is, if possible, use a wired connection. At home though, this is easier said than done. You need to be reasonably close to your home hub, as this is where the ports are, and sometimes that's not a great place to work. If you are after a wired connection away from your hub, then take a look at using power line adapters. These are two plugs that use your existing home electric wiring to create a virtual wired connection to anywhere in the building that has a plug socket. They are relatively cheap, and some can also be used as wireless extenders, allowing you to create a better Wi-Fi coverage in dark spots in your home. At around £30 to £50, it's a relatively cheap and aesthetically pleasing option compared to running cables around your home. Meshing is the next solution to improve coverage. More recently, homes have been adopting the mesh system. Meshing is linking wireless access points together to extend their range. All have the same sign-in, so you can seamlessly move from one to the other with uninterrupted connection. Starting at around £80, it's a more expensive option, but if you only have devices that use Wi-Fi, this might be the answer for you. With most home networks, after bandwidth availability, interference is your next enemy. Always try to place your home hub in the most central place if the telephone sockets allow, otherwise consider powerline adapters or meshing. Most modern internet providers give you options to buy these devices from them. This will guarantee it works for your network, but be aware this will come at a higher price tag. If this has given you food for thought, I'd love to hear from you. Why not get in touch at TT Radio 2022? Follow us and tell us what you want to know about tech. I'm Steve Woods, and that was 2 Minute Tech.
2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
If you're listening to this, then we know we share one thing in common: a passion for the type of outstanding education that every child deserves. That's what makes us the leading provider of specialist education and care. We need people like you to help us achieve even more. With us, you'll be given all the resources and support you need, offered a clear path to career progression, and be rewarded with some of the best salaries and benefits the industry has to offer. We are Witherslack Group. If you'd like to find out more, we'd love to hear from you. Visit www.witherslackgroup.co.uk/careers and be part of our future.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
This is Teachers Talk Radio News GCSE Special. With many young people celebrating their GCSE results on Thursday the 25th of August, a range of both local and national media outlets have carried stories of success. Schools Week have provided a clear analysis of some of the trends as pupils received grades via examinations for the first time since 2019. The main headline figures have dropped from those achieved in 2021, when pupils' grades were awarded based on teacher assessment, but many were up when compared to 2019 figures. The main headlines for pupils in England include the grade 5 or above pass rate at 60.3%, which is up from 53.5% in 2019, with grade 4s improving from 69.9% to 75.3%. The number of pupils achieving top grade 9s sits at 6.8%, but is much higher than the 4.7% in 2019. In terms of subjects, English has seen a bigger drop in top grades than maths on 2021 levels, although both subjects still outperform 2019 grades. There were also nearly 3 times more straight 9s since the last exams, with 2,193 students achieving all grade 9s compared to just 837 in 2019. Over 2/3 of these students were girls, sparking some additional reporting on the gender gap in terms of attainment. 13 students in England achieved grade 9s in 12 or more GCSEs. One of the biggest stories, however, has been the attainment gap between North and South. In the northeast of England, the proportion of pupils achieving top grades of 7s or above was 22.4%, compared to 32.6% in London, whilst in the West Midlands, 1/5 of students achieved top grades compared with 1/3 of London students, according to the website Birmingham World. This data has prompted a number of stories focusing on school funding and what some view as the disproportionate effects of the pandemic on some areas. The Director of Schools North East, Chris Zaraga, called for an urgent recovery plan which recognised the different needs of different areas, whilst also highlighting the work done by the region's students and teachers in what he called unprecedented circumstances. Meanwhile, Ofqual Chief Joe Saxton, speaking to the TES magazine, has commented on the attempt to return to normal assessment. In the article, she notes that the advanced information issued by exam boards to help students sitting this summer's exams may not have been helpful in practice. Speaking to school leaders at the Confederation of School Trusts conference, she stated that it gave pupils just one other thing to think about. Dr. Saxton also explored how she expects aspects such as grading scales to evolve in the future. The core points of the speech included addressing disadvantage, described as a key part of her job, with examples of maths and MFL questions being accessible to all. She also described the summer 2022 exam grading as one of the most generous in history, as Ofqual did not want to return to 2019 grading levels in one fell swoop. Dr. Saxton acknowledged that exams would be changing over the coming years, highlighting that she believes it is a case of when, not if, we move towards online assessment, but added that reform must not throw out babies with bathwater and that handwriting is here to stay. And finally, Exam Board AQA continues to face industrial action from employees who are part of the union Unison. The strikes are currently in their fourth period of industrial action as a dispute over pay and threats of fire and rehire continue, according to union representatives. The action coincides with many of those who marked exams for the board this year taking to social media to complain of delayed and missing payments, and some claims of pupils not receiving marks at all. This has been your Teachers Talk Radio GCSE News Special with Joe Fox.
A new place. I'm broadcasting from my new house, from my lovely desk in the corner. So I've got this large bedroom. So I have my sort of bedroom end one end, and the other end is my study, come library, come listening station, where I have my records and my CDs and my books and my desk. And this is very, very exciting. Only moved in on the 19th of August and have been nesting and unpacking ridiculous amounts of boxes and assembling ridiculous amounts of furniture. Got some bargains at Hospice in the Weald charity. What's that noise? Oh, there's a click there. What does that click mean? Oh, I don't know what that click meant. Kate entered the live studio. Good evening, Kate. Good evening to those of you. Good morning to those of you who are listening back. I know some of you have missed us. I'm waiting for Ed to call in. I'm just going to go and wander over. Bear with me a moment. It's because my phone's not right next to me. I know it should be, obviously, for broadcasting. Good evening. Good evening. Just a pause here. I'll tell you why. While I pause, I'm going to give you some of this. I'm back. I did have, because I started a little late, I had a Where's the Showman? It's here. Ed, it's here. I'm on. I'm just replying to him on WhatsApp. And so hopefully he's going to join in. CPDCC Yaff. Good evening. Here he is. Oh, no, that's Ed, isn't it? Yes. Invite.
Hello.
Hi. I remember you were CPDCC Yaff before.
I don't know what it is, but I'm here. It's okay. I am CPDCC Yaff.
I've continued my summer of manic madness has continued into our first show after a break. Ed, hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you very loud and clearly.
Because I'm on a new telephone. It's very exciting. Got rid of the old telephone that you helped me kill on the beach those weeks ago. And I've got a rather nice little Samsung here. So this is the first time it's interacted with Podbean app. Am I crisp? Am I clear?
You are crisp and clear.
Wow.
Am I crisp and clear?
You sound gorgeous, my friend. Absolutely.
Well,
gorgeous.
I'm in my new
broadcasting
position.
Why are you in your new house?
I'm in my new house. I'm in the corner of my large. I'm in the corner of my listening library come study. It's rather lovely up here. This is the first time I've sat still at this desk.
You could give us a little
whole hour.
Aural tour of the place, couldn't you? You could.
I will.
You could walk us through it. You could. I don't know if you want to. Who have we got here? We got Kate. We got Tim, and no,
Lucy
entered.
I think we had Lucy as well.
I think
Lucy's lower down.
Okay, well, we got all the good people then. That's all right. Yeah,
we have got all the good people. We've got all the good people. So, Ed, I've decided I think is it 6 weeks since we did our last show. I thought we were going to have 4 weeks off because I think our last show you were still at school. You were still at school.
I wasn't a child, listeners. He's not suggesting that I was. It was so long ago that I was wearing short trousers and cocking a snook at authority. I mean, I was cocking a snook at authority. Who am I kidding? But actually, I probably was wearing short trousers. It was very hot, wasn't it? That last couple of weeks term. It's very warm. Do you remember?
It was. Well, yeah, for you, it was. My last week of term was still warm, but not as warm as that one. It was the 20th of July, I think, because I drove down to Devon on that Wednesday, the 20th of July. You were still at school.
I was still 50 back then.
You were still 50. That's right. You were still 50. I was still 49.
No, it's another age, but here it is. We're on the other side of it now. Are we going to do protracted ruminations on the natures of our holidays, or are we going to assume that everybody's like over that now.
I haven't got anything else to talk about, so
Okay, you've had a very, very busy summer in a lot of ways.
I've had an absolutely. I'm just longing for
Mhm.
a normal summer holiday as a teacher. Now, obviously, if any members of Joe Public, particularly readers of the Daily Mail or the Daily Express, are listening, then we're all lazy buggers who do nothing and we don't deserve a holiday and all that sort of stuff. But I don't
Well,
think
take
anyone
that as
is
read.
listening like that. So,
Mhm.
but you know, it is as we spoke at the beginning of the summer holiday or just before the summer holidays.
Mhm.
It is a complete blessing the summer holiday, but
Yeah.
I haven't had a normal teacher's summer holiday for 3 years because 2 years ago, so my
Mm.
3 summers ago, it was COVID, wasn't it, for everybody,
Yeah, that would
and
be it. Yeah.
also it was COVID lockdown and madness and all that stuff. But also, I was sort of in a fairly making big decisions and a little confused about everything and not totally happy. So that was summer
Yeah.
2 years ago. Last summer, I was in the mire of separation and associated cash flow. I did have a blissful 4 weeks in Devon last summer, which was lovely, but it was sort of in mother's world. And then
Mm.
this summer, obviously, there's a huge silver lining because I am now got my own lovely house, and it's brilliant. And I managed to entertain
Mhm.
a few friends for my 50th birthday here last a
Yeah.
week ago today. So that was lovely, and my children were all here, and it's just brilliant. And they were all sort of nested, and we're all very happy. So I've been in here for 12 days now,
Mhm.
and
Mm.
that's pretty wonderful. So the end of the summer has been busy with preparing for seeing various family members and some in Devon and some up here, and then in my new house, and then a little party, and then just getting a house moved into and unpacking boxes and assembling furniture and driving vans around to secondhand furniture warehouses and so forth. And yeah, so it's been a really busy and lovely, and I'm really happy and excited about that. However,
Yeah.
the as you know about it, and
Mm.
my nearest Twitter people and Twitter listeners do as well. Lucy knows about
Yeah.
it. Um, there was a large amount of time in Devon before that, and
Yeah.
and
There
and
was.
that time in
Yeah.
Devon, Mum spiraled downhill somewhat. I don't
Mm.
think it's really fair of me to talk about it too much. I
No,
mean,
let's
I
not
know,
talk about it in any detail. But I mean, I think what we can say is that that was very trying, and it was it was a difficult
yeah,
time in your life. Of course, a difficult time in her life,
yeah.
and
And
I
she's in
mean, we
hospital
don't need to
now.
talk.
She's
Yeah.
going into her. She went into hospital 3 weeks ago tomorrow.
Mm.
And
Mm.
and so technically, I don't think she's going to be coming out anytime soon.
No,
She's
I
and
think.
I'm coming down to see her. So and I'm going to in the
Good.
process I'm going to see you as well, aren't I, Ed? So
Yeah,
so I'm
and
coming
we'll have
down
a bit of a walk and a swim and all
a
that.
walk
I think
on Saturday morning.
what's useful to our listeners on this one is just that thinking about that back to school time. I always send a tweet out, and actually, I didn't have to do this yet because a colleague did, and I gave it a boost. But that thing where you say first day back, please don't ask the children to write what I did on my holidays because some of them haven't done much, and some of them had a horrible time. For a lot of those
Yeah,
children in your class, school is the safe place. School is the place where they've got some routine. They want to get back to it, and you saying what was it like? There's nothing you can do which will open up an understanding of the financial gulf between the haves and the have-nots in your class more than saying what did you do on holiday, and this lot spent a month in the Algarve, and this lot have been at home. They did go to the summer fair.
yeah,
But it's the same for our colleagues as well. I really think this is a serious thing. A lot of colleagues struggle during the summer because maybe they like school because they like routine. Maybe that's why they ended up being teachers. They kind of needed that bells and shaped the year. A lot of people struggle emotionally in the summer. A lot of people find it difficult financially because they can't do all the things that maybe they'd like to do, or maybe they do all the things they'd like to do, and then but towards the end of summer they realise they've crashed and burned their finances. Or if you're a head teacher, that you may well have been dealing with traumatic stuff at school through the summer. That's
yeah,
quite likely. It's quite possible that stuff's been going on in the community that you've been needing to be part of. So when you see if you're back in school tomorrow morning, I know a lot of teachers are back in tomorrow morning. You know, other conversations can be had beyond what did you do with your summer. I think, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I think this is most acute with teachers who are maybe 5 or 6 years in, they're starting to get a little tiny bit of disposable income, and maybe they've had this glorious summer, and they come back
Yeah.
and it's not maybe been like that for the teachers who've got a couple of kids to look after, and the kids have been bored and wanting to do stuff, and they haven't got a lot of money to do it. Or teachers in your sort of position with elderly parents who found that this is the sort of time that things come to a bit of a crux because decisions end up getting made. Or, anyway, I think, what are we looking forward to this year is a much better question than how was the last 6 weeks.
I absolutely agree, and I think the thing is that I remember when I used to write sort of stream of consciousness blogs, having a conversation on Twitter with Zoe Enser, I think, about. I think I wrote something about routine and ritual, and when I'm immersed, the sort of person that I am, when I'm immersed in routine or surrounded by people who seem to thrive and like routine, I kick against it. I don't, I shouldn't really be a teacher in that respect, because the sort of having a fixed routine. I mean, obviously there is the spontaneity of the classroom, the spontaneity of the school day is much more spontaneous than office work, I would say. However, there is a timetable, and you know exactly what you're doing when, and routine, and there's quite a lot to sort of kick against, because it's like, oh, we've got to do another maths lesson, whereas actually I'd really rather carry on with that music thing we were doing yesterday, or whatever it is, anyway, but I now realise, I think that Zoe was right, who said that routine or ritual is important. It defines our life. And John Lennon, there was a quote from John Lennon, I remember, that was stuck up on my notice board when I was at school in the sixth form, about work is life, and without it there's nothing but pain and frustration. And I think there's different forms of work. It doesn't have to be paid work, of course, but I think that's true, really. If you don't, my mind is all over the place, justifiably, I think, at the moment, because there's been a lot going on, and a lot has converged at the same sort of time, over the last 2 years. It's been very, very intense. But I'm also very self-aware, and I'm a very intense person who sort of overthinks everything and overfeels everything, and that makes me who I am, and I like being that way. But it's exhausting for other people, and it's exhausting for me. It's exhausting for me too. And so I'm really looking forward to the routine and the crutch, if you like, of work, and because I do, although there's some weeks in November and February and May and early July where the last thing you want to do is teach classes full of children, but most of the time I absolutely love it, and I'm really looking forward to the joy of teaching and of being part of a community with a routine and a very clear purpose, and that gives our lives sort of meaning and structure. And I think I'm looking forward to that, because when I was down in Devon, with the mother stuff unfolding, and speaking to doctors and social workers and so forth, and it was very, very immersive. I was there, and I was there, part of it, and I was very emotional and sort of almost grieving, because I don't know if Mum's coming back in any way. I think she probably is. But I think she's not. I don't know. I took her out to Hartland Quay the day after I went to Lundy for the first time, Lundy Island, and I told you about this. And I took her out to Hartland Quay, which is my favourite place in the world, really, and had a cream tea. But I knew what was unfolding, or what was likely to be happening, and I just sort of felt guilt and fear and hope and almost grief, really. And it was just really, and I couldn't escape from that in Devon. Whereas as soon as it's been weird. As soon as I come back here, I've had all the intensity of getting a little bit excited about having a 50th birthday party and moving house and starting a little bit to think about the school term as well. But I've been immersed in the moving stuff and things, and I haven't really, and suddenly the Devon thing and the immersive mother thing, that's all sort of gone away, and I have to say, sort of distracted from that. And so that's. But we are blessed. I have been blessed of the timing that it's all happened. Yes, that's been an intense, crazy summer.
You could put time in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could focus on all that. Yeah.
I wonder if there's an extent to which it happened over the summer because you had the capacity for it at that time. If
Exactly.
things came to a head because you were able to shape them to that end, it was a good.
Exactly.
It's yeah. I hope that next year you have a perfect 6 weeks of rest and relaxation and all that. Nonetheless, we're lucky to have this chunk of time in which we can sort some life admin, and often it
Absolutely.
turns out we do.
Absolutely. But I
You
think
know.
it is just going back to your point about the back to school
Mm,
conversations. So let's talk as teachers. I mean, you're absolutely. I totally agree with. I mean, I don't teach a class of primary children, but I do teach primary age children, and we will undoubtedly, and most of the children I teach are, well, they're all financially privileged, so they will have all had some incredible experiences in the summer holiday,
hmm
particularly in a largely post COVID world, um, but equally they will still, there will have been variety of holidays in terms of, I think that's the thing that I think about is the sort of, the mental health side of things, however posh you are, however rich you are, there's all that stuff still going on in families
There
and
is.
unhappy marriages and so forth. So,
There is all
so
that,
e-
and a lot of
even though
that is
people may have been to the
exacerbated.
Maldives,
Yeah, a lot of it at the moment with people looking towards this autumn and looking towards the
oh my word, it's
price
grim,
cuts.
isn't it?
People are terrified. So even those people who, I mean, I'm making stupid positions myself because there's a small amount of money left. I haven't run out of money left yet, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I want to do the nice things before I run out of money. This is absurd. It's not a good way to run my life at all. But you know what? I'm going to,
yeah,
because by the end of this winter, I'm going to be skint and I won't be able
yeah.
to do the nice things. So I want to do some nice. That's one of the reasons, that people who follow me on the Twitter will have seen that I did this great expedition with my son earlier in the summer. And
I
we
want you
spent.
to talk. I want to talk about that, Ed. I want you to talk.
Well,
Just
we
tell us
could talk
what you
about
want
it
to talk
a
about.
bit, yeah. But I mean, one reason why I was like, yeah, we are going to do this. It's a ridiculous endeavour, and it will be very expensive, but we are going to do it because this time next year, I don't know if I'll be able to. Whereas at the moment,
Yeah,
I've got some money left in the pot. Let's spend it because the rest of it's going to end up going on lentils and the heating bill. So
yeah.
let's. But I think talking to colleagues, a lot of colleagues, I mean, who can afford to be a teaching assistant anyway? Teaching assistants, the money they're paid isn't insult
Oh,
for the work they
it is an
do
insult.
already.
It's an insult.
That's been the case since forever. But right now, for a lot of TAs, I think that it doesn't cover the cost of their petrol if they're living in rural areas. I'm not joking. I don't think that's an exaggeration. I've got teaching assistants driving in from outside of Chagford for whom I think probably they're barely covering their petrol. And
Mm,
maybe they've got a partner who earns a bit of money, and maybe there is an extent to which there's a breadwinner in the house, and this is a job which does not pay money but does give purpose. That's all very well, but if it's a job which loses you money, I think
mm.
people are going to get a bit of a reality check, and they're going to, when they're talking to me, on Monday we're back in for our first inset, and I think a lot of them will be saying very honestly, I don't know that I can afford to keep this job. I don't think it's going to be easy to recruit new ones.
No,
So,
no.
I think that it's, oh, did you have a lovely holiday? A lot of people are going to be saying no, because I'm consumed with anger and I'm consumed with anxiety about
Yeah,
what things are going to be looking like by Christmas. You know, and
I know. It's a
by this time
huge.
next year we'll be looking to a very different country. We'll be looking at there's going to be no pubs, no cafes, and no independent shops left, is there? So unless something is very urgently done, we'll be looking at a very different United Kingdom this time
I
next year.
know, and with a really another awful, awful prime minister. Anyway, there we go. Although the result has not been revealed yet, but
Well, I mean,
you
mate,
know,
I don't know. The result has not been revealed, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on the radio. But I don't think I would trust either of those two to run my summer fair. I wouldn't actually. I
no,
actually wouldn't trust either of them
no.
to run my summer fair. They'd run off with the money, wouldn't they? Anyway,
But they've
let's
got
not
yeah.
worry about that. Come
Let's
on,
not
we
worry
got
about that.
more.
Yeah. So, Ed,
Mm.
let's I think yeah, it's slightly downbeat start to our reunion on the radio, which is my
A
fault, my
little bit.
fault,
Yeah, sorry
and
about
and
that.
and
Was that me?
no, no, it's both of us, I think. But I think that there has been some joyful exploratory stuff, which has involved meeting up with some old teacher friends along the way, just to remind
Hmm.
us that we are presenting to you two teachers talking on Teachers Talk Radio. Everybody, so. Um, tell us about your amazing adventure. I mean, no one will have done exactly what you and Douglas
No,
did this
you're
summer.
quite right. A lot of people would have had 2 weeks on a beach in Croatia, and a lot of people would have gone to Centre Parks perhaps, but nobody else would have done what me and my son did. So let's presume there's somebody listening who wasn't following a blow-by-blow account on the Twitters. So my boy is interested in public transport. He's not interested in rolling stock. You know, he's not a train spotter. He doesn't stand at the station and write down numbers. But he likes networks and connections, and how things fit together. So his idea for a good time this summer, which he presented to me many months ago, was that we should buy. He found this ticket you can buy, which is a 14-day unlimited travel ticket on the trains. You can go anywhere, anytime, catch any train for 14 days. It's quite expensive. Not if you add up the journeys we took. We got it for a pip, but it is a lot of money up front. And so I said, yeah, fine. Yeah, I don't know, you could do that. I was very busy at work. I said, yeah, well, you draw up an itinerary and, we'll do that. We ended up visiting 18 cities and lots of towns over the course of the fortnight. We slept in 14 of them. There was some. We went to each of the capital cities of the mainland United Kingdom. So we went to Cardiff, we went to Glasgow, we went to London. That was sort of one little aim. We also visited, and this was the bit that gave us lots of pleasure. We visited every tram network, every light rail network, and every metro network in the country. We're not including vintage or tourist things for that. So none of your Cliff Railways or your Bluebell Railways, steam train things. No, things which are genuinely used for genuine purpose. So our main job when we went to London, which was the penultimate day of our trip, our main job was to get down to Croydon because in Croydon they've got a tram network which connects up with South Wimbledon, as I'm sure you know.
I didn't know that.
Did you not? Well,
I should know it. I'm not very far away.
Lots of people would go to London because they want to go to the British Museum or see Buckingham Palace or, I don't know, the River Thames or Tower Bridge or something. We went very specifically because we had to tick the tramwork. Well, I suppose, so we had to go to Blackpool. Blackpool, my friends, is a hole. Don't go there. It's just a hole. However, it has a tram network. I was like, Douglas, I don't think that's a genuine tram network. I really just think that's like a tourist thing, isn't it? So we looked into it. No, it serves the whole of the Files Coast. It's a very, very legitimate form of transport that lots of people use every day to get to their place of work. We have to go there. We have to go to Nottingham. We have to go to, Glasgow's got its amazing metro systems. Have you ever been on the Glasgow metro?
I've not been on the Glasgow. I've not even been to Glasgow. It's on my list.
It's a great city, and it was shown around. So that's the next bit of it is who was showing us around. But I mean, the Glasgow Underground is brilliant. They call it the Clockwork Orange because all the tram tracks, the rolling stock's all bright orange. But it's like about a third scale. Right? It's tiny. You sort of step down into these tiny trains that you can barely stand in them, and I'm like average height for a British male. But then obviously, when they've looked at it, they've gone, well, we can save a lot of money here by making them like toy size. It's a great thing. It's a genuine thing. It's used, right across the city. It's a genuinely useful network, which works at maybe 2/3 scale of the London Underground. But it just looks hilarious when it pulls into the station because you're taller than it. Where obviously Newcastle, we had to go to Newcastle. They've got an underground system. We had to go to Edinburgh because they got a tram system. So we had a terrific time. And every single place we went, with any exceptions? No, with no exceptions. Every single place we went, we met up with friends and all family, right? And a lot of this was really ad hoc. So I'd tweet, "Oh, by the way, we're going to be in Glasgow tomorrow," and somebody would say, "Oh, why don't I show you around?"
And so you only had Paul, didn't you? Paul,
lovely Paul,
Paul Tyler. Is his surname?
That's right. Yeah.
Glasgow at Glasgow on the twits.
And he's actually not from there. He's a Scouser by birth, but he's adopted that city and he loves it and he's proud of it. He met us at the station and he took us on a tour of the city. And what a kind host and what a kind thing to do. What a lovely thing to do. So
big shout out to Paul.
Yeah. So some people we met were old friends that I've known for years. Like we stayed the night at Ruth Swale's house when we were up in Sheffield.
Yeah,
And in
big shout
Sheffield,
out
we
to
met up
Ruth
with.
as well.
So we
Lots of
have
love
met
to
up with a
Ruth.
lovely bunch of some of my favourite people on this planet in Sheffield, and had a lovely night out there with Sam Twizzleton and Sinead Gaffney, and Susie was on that one. See, I forget Susie's second name. Sorry, Susie, as well as
I've
Ruth.
met Sam
Yeah.
Twistleton at Curriculum Ed in
She's one
2019.
of my favourite people. Sheffield, of course, was the home of the first ever Brew Ed, and those people were all at it, and that was a lovely reunion. And in other
And you
places,
saw-
we met people. So I'd never met Caroline Keat before. I've known her on the Twitters for years as someone I've sort of had occasional conversations with. But she came out and met us in Manchester, and we had a brilliant night out. Ended up eating kebabs at midnight,
She's good fun.
And
She's a
then
great lover of our supporter of our show, isn't she? I'd
she's
like to meet
yeah,
Caroline.
she
She seems
is
fun
brilliant.
on Twits.
No, she really is. She's great. So anyway, we'd met her in Manchester. When we changed our plans on the way back down, we'd been intending to go to Cambridge, and then I was like, Douglas, why are we going to Cambridge? By the way, is there some reason? He's like, no, really, I thought you'd like to go there. I'm like, I've been to Cambridge. It's kind of like more Oxford, but not as interesting. Why don't we go somewhere else? We haven't been to, say, for example, Liverpool. Liverpool has its own light railway, which Douglas had discounted because it shares track with like the main system. Yeah, sort of integrated. But if you talk to people from Liverpool, they'll say it is entirely Merseyrail is entirely a separate system. So I said, well, listen, we've got to tick it off the list. That gives us the excuse to go to Liverpool, which we all know is one of the greatest cities on our planet, isn't it?
Again, I need to go.
Well, we go over there again, and guess who we run into again? We run into Caroline there. She's called out a whole bunch of her friends, people I don't know from Adam, but brilliant people who are associated with a makerspace in the city. We end up, pubs kicking out time. We end up going back to this makerspace, which is full of laser cutters and 3D printers and all sorts. We set up the karaoke, and we're singing there till some terrible time in the morning. And what a great way. I can't tell you, that was 2 weeks of sheer pleasure. We did an awful lot of sitting on trains and an awful lot of looking at, do you know about the Stourbridge Railway? That's interesting. Yeah, anyway,
you told me about it, I think.
Yeah, but we went all over the place. Went places that you wouldn't really think to go. Probably did the wrong things in the places that you've heard of, because we didn't do the tourist stuff. We had to ride the tram, and then hot-foot it off to meet somebody in a pub who said that they would, show us a good time.
And there's that lovely photo
some of it was
the
very
three.
serendipitous. Ran into a guy that I followed on Twitter for many years. He's a funny and kind guy at Sir and Goblin. Not a teacher. He's a sort of, well, he's a dog walker, is how he makes his money, but he's also a crafter and a funny guy. Anyway, literally, we're talking to somebody in a pub in Cardiff and mentioned Twitter. She goes, if you're on Twitter, I wonder if you might know my partner. He said, it's this guy, Just, oh my God. I said, I've been following for years. He goes, no, you're not, are you? Yes, I am. Big hugs, big chat, share a pint, So what a blessing. We had a great time. That was at the start of the summer. Seems like a long time ago now.
Yeah, that was our first the reason we didn't do our first two shows that we had off.
Yes,
I think
I was going to be out on the road, and I didn't know what condition or where we would be, and I was quite right to say that I would have been in a pub, or who knows where I'd have been. But
what an adventure! What an adventure! And have you and Douglas sort of avoided each other since then, having spent so much time together?
Well, I have to say, we were sharing a bedroom pretty much throughout, because we were either in a cheap hotel or in somebody's guest room, And so, I think he got very tired of my snoring. I'm sorry, I'm a 51-year-old man. It's going to happen.
Why is it we all snore? I apparently snore like a trooper these days. I never used to. Why is that?
Well, my honest answer is I don't know, but it does seem to get worse as you get older. It seems to get
relaxation of the nasal internal tissues. I don't know. I want
snoring. I tell you what, this isn't going quite where I was hoping it was going. But if I drink too much red wine before I go to bed, sometimes this happens, Toby. It's hard to imagine that a man.
I'm drinking too much red wine right now.
Well, there you go. If I drink too much red wine before I go to bed, then I snore worse. I know that for a fact. That's been sort of independently verified. Also, may wake up with a very strangely sort of sore and tender soft palate. The soft palate back of my mouth. That's where the snoring is happening. There, it's the slap and vibrate of that, isn't it? So
The
I wonder,
slap
as we
and
get older,
vibrate of that.
does
On
that
the
get? Is this sexy talk? I don't think it is, but I think that as we get older,
slap and
very,
vibrate.
very possibly those areas are getting a little slacker because my jowls are a little slacker, aren't they?
Yeah.
Other parts of
It's
my
just
body
a
have got
little taut,
a little bit
isn't
more wattly, perhaps.
it? Wattly and Dorby.
So this isn't scientific, but this is my opinion. I think maybe
No, it
things
must be a
loosen up a little bit.
relaxation. It must be the muscles just getting.
Relaxation of the soft palate, yeah.
Yeah.
Allowing, and as so maybe that extra relaxation of that lovely, tasty, jammy red wine allows for even a touch more. My mother was an extraordinary snorer. I mean, if there had been snoring in the Olympics, she would have definitely been on the team. And she didn't drink any
Let's
red
have
wine.
the international snoring competitions. That could be something that. Yeah, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
So we encourage our listeners. There's a
all
app.
6 of them.
Yeah,
Or
there's
4
an
of
app.
them.
Well, no, lots of people are going to download and listen in the week when they're
All
walking
right.
their dogs
Yeah,
and
good
stuff,
point.
aren't
Good
they?
point. Yeah,
There's a app. I'm looking on my phone. It's called Snorlab. Snorlab.
Snorlab.
App. Capital S, capital L. Snorlab. If you leave that running while you sleep, it monitors your sleep and it takes recordings, and you can listen back in the morning. And it rates those recordings. So you can like tap in at the various peaks. You can see when you were sleeping deeply, when you were sleeping, where was the REM sleep and stuff. And I know this because last year Douglas made me download it because I was arguing that it couldn't be as bad as he claimed. Well, it was. But actually, I was quite proud because it rated my peaks as epic. And I don't think that a lot of people get epic. I think that people might get loud but epic.
Epic peaks.
Download Snorlab, people, and I'll tell you what, it would be interesting, wouldn't it, to see if we got enough data. We'd have to get a couple of thousand people, maybe. It'd be nice to see if there was any truth to this thing. A lot of people say that men snore worse than women, and a lot of people saying that you snore more as you get older.
Yeah,
it's a bit of citizen science. If everybody threw in their Snorlab results, we could see if there's any validity to those claims.
it wouldn't be if there was an international or just a national snoring competition. It wouldn't be a great fun thing to participate in because I'm not really a sportsman, but I suppose if you were
not really a sportsman,
but I'm not really competitive into competitive sports. But in terms of snoring as a competitive sport would be a disappointing one because you're doing it in your sleep, so you don't have the thrill like when you're swimming or running or playing football where you get that sense of you're one goal up or you're ahead of the runner next to you.
I think
you wouldn't get a sense of I'm snoring louder than that person. Yes,
you get a very cheap understanding of sport because a lot of it's about the joy of the preparation, isn't it? A lot about that is just knowing you're in peak condition. So for me to be in peak condition
for snoring, it's just lots of wine and cheese.
Possibly a bottle and a half of a really rich Cabernet Sauvignon. Like you say, maybe some cheese might help. And I've got to sleep flat on my back. Yeah. But if I sleep on my side, it's not as acute. If I sleep flat on my back, So I've got to get everything ready. And then chance comes into it. Maybe the anxiety of performance. Maybe I won't sleep so good. Maybe I won't fall so deeply asleep. You've got to be quite a chilled person, I think, to get straight into that snore zone.
You have. Yeah, okay. Good. Right, now I'm going to just see, Ed. Oh, you've got a ukulele. Good idea. Yes. Let's play a song, and then after that, I'm going to see if I can get the news to work.
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit.
It might not work.
Fill time alone. So I was trying to do autumn songs because it is now, it's the 31st today, isn't it? Tomorrow is definitely autumn, I'm afraid.
And it was cooling off when I walked back from the train this evening to the car. It was cooler. It cools off in the evenings. Start drawing in, getting cooler in the evenings. It's been a long time coming, though. They get the autumn, isn't it? It was a long, hot summer.
Been a long summer, yeah. So the last episode before the break, we did summer songs. So this is definitely an end of summer song, and the next one I'm going to do is an autumn song, and everybody just going to accept it. Then I'll have done it. You can join in if you like.
I'm never very good at joining.
Nobody on the road, nobody on the beach. I can feel it in the air. The summer's out of reach. Empty lake, empty streets. The sun goes down alone. I'm driving by your house, though I know that you're not home. But I can still see you, your brown skin shining in the sun. You got your hair combed back and your sunglasses on, baby. I can tell you my love for you will still be strong after the boys of summer have gone. I never will forget those nights. I wonder if it was a dream. I remember how you made me crazy. Remember how I made you scream. Now I don't understand what happened to our love. But babe, I'm gonna get you back. I'm gonna show you what I'm made of. Join in! I can still see your brown skin shining in the sun. I see you walking real slow and smiling to everyone. And I can tell you
I need to get the lyrics up.
Will still be strong after the boys of summer have gone. Come on. Yeah. Out on the road today, I saw a deadhead sticker on a Cadillac. A little voice inside my head said, don't look back, you can never look back. I thought I knew what love was. What did I know? Those days are gone forever, I should just let them go, but I can still see you, your brown skin shining in the sun. You got the top pulled down and the radio on, baby. I can tell you my love for you will still be strong after the boys of summer have gone. Again, come on! I can still see you, your brown skin shining in the sun. You got the top pulled down on the radio. You have to say it's the top car. It's a soft top car. She hasn't got
soft top car.
It's a soft top car. One. Yeah. You got the top pulled down on the radio on, baby. I can tell you my love for you will still be strong after the boys of summer have gone. There you go. Is that giving you enough time to find the news?
I've got the news here. It's whether I can get it to play. So, okay, everybody.
Good luck.
If it plays, you've got 8 minutes to listen to adverts and news and tech update. If it doesn't play, then Magic Tom will sort it out and append it to the beginning of the show or something before I publish it. Here we go.
We could do an impression of it. Come on, news.
Nothing happening.
News.
Pause.
Hey, in education, nothing very significant happened.
What's going on? It's not even locking. Hang on a minute. I'm going to try an audio effect here.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
That works.
That works. So why does my music downloads not work?
Oh, mate.
Uploads.
Oh, I mean, the main education news today has been our friend Mr. Smith, who was talking to Tom. When are you talking to Tom on a certain? I don't know. Did you hear any
Barry
of that?
Smith all about it? Because Barry Smith and
well, I didn't know. So I listened to
Barry Smith and Catherine Burblesing were both on GB News yesterday, weren't they, or the other day?
Oh,
and
they were.
I don't watch GB News, but I saw a link to it from I think a retweet of Adam Boxers or something like that. Anyway,
horribly misrepresented. All the things they said, all those things they've been saying for a decade now, they didn't say them. Okay, it was just misrepresentation. They didn't challenge it at the time, but it was anyway. Well done, them. You know, you got to have a go, haven't you? You got to have a go. But it's
Yeah.
great, isn't it, when people say, "Oh, you said that thing," and you go, "No, that's not what I said. I said you should be nice all of the time." Oh no, but we've got this quote of you where you said, I won't go into it because Tom's had that conversation, but Tom
Yeah.
did a good job. I thought it's an interesting thing. So that was the main news, but I wonder if that would have been represented on the recorded news.
We would have had some news about Scottish education, I suspect.
Brilliant, yeah.
Anyway, but also talking, because I can't play the adverts, I'd just like to say that
Can you do the tech update?
I can't.
Find people about the snipping tool or something.
Oh no, but I just want to say, I know that the sponsors of Teachers Talk Radio, with a Slack group, and Oxford University Press, this whole thing couldn't exist without them. And there's another one as well. I can't remember who it is now. So I haven't got the text. I'm not good. I'm going to get told off by the powers that be.
Done well.
Justifiably.
I'm just a guest, people. You have to say what you don't know, people, is that I am just a guest on Toby's show. So Toby gets his wrist slapped.
No.
Take the mick as hard as I like. I should say, actually, I've been in meaning to say this. I got a box in a post. Did you? I got a box in a post, and it had a Teachers Talk Radio mug in it and a tiny little Teachers Talk Radio badge. Did you get that?
I haven't given Tom my address. I don't think. I said I've got to give him my new address.
I wasn't aware that I had, but anyway, I was moved and pleased. It came on my birthday, so I'll be honest with you, I was expecting something. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. It's like, I don't think it was a birthday present. I think it just arrived on my birthday. I'm like,
Happy birthday!
It's a present. How exciting!
Happy birthday from Teachers Talk Radio.
Put it up when it's a Teachers Talk Radio mug, but that's going to look very handsome on my.
Well, I just want to say, there've been times, haven't there? There've been times when we've talked about. You might tell me off for saying this live on air in a minute. When you see me face to face, but there've been times when we've questioned the validity of doing this show in our busy lives, and but actually now it's 9 o'clock and not 10 o'clock. And now we've had a long break in the summer, and I think it's a nice thing to do. And I think I don't make any time in my life. I don't have any time in my life for listening to podcasts, really. I do listen to a bit of BBC Sounds Radio 4, and I like to be spontaneous. I think that's the thing. It's like, lovely, brilliant, wonderful Alex, which Lucy is on, is, set up this writing group, which, obviously I love writing, and I still have ambitions to write professionally, or become a published writer, but I have to say that is massively on the back burner because life is so full at the moment, and also I just want to chill out a bit. And so the writing group, you've got to sort of write something, and whereas I just think that I don't know how people have time, myself included, for doing all this stuff. But I think it's a good thing to be able to broadcast and chat with a really good friend, and in other episodes of our show to talk a little bit about education and teaching, maybe. Then I think it's a good thing, and I think it's a nice thing, and I'd like to thank Teachers Talk Radio for continuing to give us the opportunity to do this, and I would like to apologise publicly on air for not being super teched up tonight, but I will sort that out for next week and catch up with Tom and the powers that be. There we go. Anyway, so sorry, there's no news. There is lots of news, but most of it's not very pleasing. And sorry, there's no adverts and no tech update, people. So that leaves us with 15 minutes, Ed, to fill. We've got another ukulele song.
That's fine. We've got another. Well, I could have any number of songs. Maybe the people listening would like to suggest a song. That'd be fine. An autumn theme song. We could do Autumn Days, couldn't we? Do you know that one? Autumn Days, with the planes refueling in the sky and things.
Thinking autumn days. Why am I thinking? Is there a song? I'm trying to think of song titles with autumn in the title. I think you inferred the other day that autumn may be your favourite season. I think I'm a spring man myself, an early spring man. But autumn's second best. Although, I mean, let's just talk about Devon together in summer and our two contrasting swims. So Ed and I,
we had two swims.
Ed and I went
another one on Friday.
We're going to have another one on Saturday morning, aren't we? I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Saturday.
So I think on our first swim was connected to a walk, and it really wasn't. I'd been swimming, and it wasn't a very nice day. It wasn't a bad day. It was early in July before the sort of second heat wave. Well, mid-July. It was late July, just after you broke up. I think it was probably the first Sunday of your holiday. Probably your birthday, wasn't it, Ed? It was Sunday. I think it was the 24th.
It was my birthday. That was my birthday.
It was your
walk and
birthday,
swim, yeah.
and it wasn't. 24th of July wasn't a very sunny day. It wasn't. It was a bit gloomy. It wasn't rainy, but it was gloomy, and there were big waves. And we went for a
Yeah.
lovely walk.
Beautiful walk.
But you'd driven across Devon, and you thought, I've got to go for a swim. The sea's there, and I was sort of trying to encourage you against it. And there wasn't really a swim venue, and we went in, and we just got swept into rocks and grazed knees and all sorts.
Yes,
but
it was exciting.
It was exhilarating. It was exhilarating. It was really exciting.
What is a man's life if he doesn't taste danger?
Absolutely. You know? And it was good. It was great.
Sometimes you've got to put yourself into the sea and allow yourself to be dashed against very sharp rocks, just to remind yourself that you are a creature of nature. Nature.
But then 3 weeks later, it was about 3 weeks later. It was. I know exactly when it was. It was Friday, the 12th of August, because the day after Mother went into hospital. So it was Friday, the 12th of August. We went which was the first of the 4 really hot days in August. Although it had been pretty hot beforehand, it was pretty hot afterwards as well. But the 4 really hot days, and we went for an relatively early morning swim at a place called Bucks Mills, which is on the North Devon coast between sort of Bideford and Hartland. It's in comparison to Hartland, it's not as scenic and rugged and wild and geologically interesting, but it's still a pretty special spot, and it's a pretty special spot. And the beautiful thing is, at sort of a high tide, the water's really clear, wasn't it? The water was really clear.
It was just perfect, yeah,
just perfect. And I'd probably quite like to swim there again on Saturday or anywhere else. I don't mind. Just we'll see what the tides are doing. And lovely, blissful, really, really. And so I swam there 4 or 5 days in a row in the mornings in that heat wave. It was just really, 2 or 3 other people. Just no one really around, and just had the place to myself. Just very, very calming. Calming.
Just back this time last week, I was in Pembrokeshire, which is.
You were Saundersfoot, weren't you? How was that? I haven't spoken about that.
Well, yeah, it was lovely. It was lovely. We had a lovely holiday. It's funny because it's it's when we stand on the beach, Bucks Mill or around there, you can look up and you can see Lundy just there in the distance.
Yeah,
not far away. You couldn't quite reach out and touch it, but it's very much there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's exactly the same from Pembrokeshire. From all the places I was in Pembrokeshire last week, you could look south.
See Lundy, except it's about 30 miles away rather than 12, 15 miles away.
It kind of looks sort of the same, at that distance. It's very it's clear. It's clear, and it's on the horizon, and it's got its distinctive shape. Lundy is very much itself. So I'm like, you know what? It's and the coastline is very similar, I think. Really, Pembrokeshire and North Devon. I think it's
there's a lot of similarities. Yes.
So we had a lovely time. But I have to say, every time I went for a swim every day while I was there, which was very good for me and very good for my feet. I always think swimming in the sea and running up and down on sandy beaches, very good. Shines up your toenails till they shine like pearl. Can't say the rest of the year for mine. But yeah, I didn't kind of find the deserted beaches and the desolate places where you can be alone with you in the waves. And I know that's a huge sort of middle class thing. Oh, it would just me and the nature. I don't want to, but I do want that. And so
I don't think it's a middle class thing. I think I never want to go to Cornwall again. Sorry, Cornish people listening back, but when you've got Devon in your life, there's no need to go over the border, frankly. Because
I've had. Do you know a little place? I go to a place that actually one of our friends, Nick Horston, tipped me off.
Yes,
a secret beach, and he'd be very cross if I spill the location, so I won't. But there's a little cove. It's quite a walk down to it, but there's this little cove that he knows about, and he told me the grid reference. I go down there and don't see another soul.
No, it's special.
Probably I would if I went in the heat of summer.
There are some,
but I don't.
there
go in
are
the heat
some
of summer.
secluded. But I went down on my second schlep down to Devon. So I was there from the 20th of July until the 5th of August, and I came back to Kent for a few days, and then I took Gemma and two of her friends down to Boardmasters Festival in Newquay, which is the it's not quite Cornbury Festival, which used to be known as Poshstock, or Wilderness, which is held at the same place. I think Wilderness Festival's held at in Oxfordshire near
Cornbury. There always
Green.
used to be pictures of Cameron because it's in his
it was in Canberra, that's
isn't
right,
it? There'd be Cameron dancing awkwardly in a farmer's shirt,
with Clarks and Cameron Clarks
jeans and a farmer's shirt. Yes,
indeed.
I love.
Yes,
Just
absolutely.
dreadful. I mean,
and my favourite band's the Arctic Monkeys. So that was Gordon Brown. His favourite band was the Arctic Monkeys, I think. But anyway, I drove them down to Cornwall. I had a good run from Kent down to Newquay on Wednesday, the 10th of August, and then I thought, I don't need to be in Devon until later in the evening. I got down there just before 4. Oh, what's going on? Sound effects.
Mine. Oh, sorry, that's the sound of me getting a beer out of the fridge.
It was a good sound.
Sorry about that, people. I forget that you can hear the other stuff that's going on in my house. Normally you get the washing machine. Today you got the fridge.
And so I then had sort of 4 hours to get back up to North Devon. I thought, you know what, I'm going to drive up the north coast of Cornwall from Newquay up along as close to the coast as I possibly can. And this was the beginning of heatwave number 2, and it was hot and lovely. And I thought, I'm going to find a secluded cove. And I pulled in at the National Trust Bedruthen Steps tea room, and said, where can I go? And they said, you can go down, if you go down there and you walk down there. And I went down there, it was high tide and the waves were crashing against the rocks and there was no way in. There was this beautiful little cove, so I couldn't get in. But then every other cove that it was just North Cornwall was full of the entire population of southwest London. The entire affluent population of southwest London, not the entire population. And it was, I think the affluent middle classes, just like everybody actually, from all social classes, like to convene with their own sort at the same sort of place. So, Rock and Polzeath are full of, the affluent middle classes in the summer holidays. Blackpool, less so, but it's full of other people who like to convene in Blackpool. And that's just what happens, isn't it? So I don't think it's a middle class thing to want to find a deserted cove and swim. I think it's a free, slightly, it's a freedom. It's not a class thing. I think it's a state of mind thing. I think it's.
Okay.
I think it's.
I'll take that.
You want to be at one with nature, and you want to be at one with the world, and I don't think that matters whether you're from a working class background or from an aristocratic background.
No, you're probably right. You're probably right, but I do think if everybody wanted their own secret cove, there wouldn't be enough to go round. So it's a sort of privilege, I think, to think, oh yes, well, I kind of deserve this experience of solitude in the landscape. And I will drive my car a long way to have it.
Yeah, But that brings me back to your original point, because there's a statistic I read, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before, that something like 35% of the population of Cornwall, the permanent population of Cornwall, have never been to the beach. There's a lot of deprivation in Cornwall.
Yeah, there is.
So there's old mining towns and stuff, and down, there's nowhere in Cornwall that's more than probably 15, 18 miles from the coast. Maybe right on the border between Devon. There's probably a stretch that's maybe 20, 25 miles from the coast. But if once you go down west of Bodmin, and you're down into Cornwall, you're only 15 miles north or 15 miles south to the coast, and yet there's people who live in those old mining towns, who are properly deprived, proper poor, but people don't associate with Cornwall because they associate it with Rick Stein and David Cameron having holidays down there, and lots of my children's friends and public school kids hanging out and camping and getting pissed for the first time, etc., in their teens, as I did down in Rock. Right, anyway, Ed, it's the end of the show. It's the end of the show. It's almost the end of the show.
Okay.
We've filled an hour.
Or did the people suggest songs? Let me just see.
No,
because I wasn't really looking. They didn't.
They didn't really. But I'd just like to say to everybody who's listened to this show and listens back to it, thank you for listening. Ed, it's a little indulgent. We've just had a catch up. We talked about our summers.
I think this has been a shockingly dull programme for anybody listening.
I
think I'd like to thank them for listening, but also apologise because we weren't very educational, were we?
We weren't. No, but I don't. I think I'd like to pick up.
We called Teachers Talk Radio. Should be called Middle-Aged Chaps Talk Radio.
Yeah. Well, didn't I describe us on my tweet yesterday? We're not as funny today as the Mortimer and Whitehouse of Teachers Talk Radio. No, I think we don't necessarily need a teaching theme, but I think next week we'll be back in the educational groove.
Sometimes we're funny, sometimes we're interesting, sometimes we are just two old chaps.
Yeah,
it's because we're not.
Yeah. I think I've been reflecting quite a lot on all that sort of philosophy and psychology and stuff, and I think there's a lot more we could talk about that. And I think.
Can I just say that the people are the kind people. Kate says it's been very entertaining. Thank you, Kate. Lucy says, I've enjoyed it. And she's added an exclamation point there so that we know it's sincere. And then Tim has said, no. I don't know if that's whether he's... Anyway, no, comma. It's great to listen to you both witter on. And then Kate said, witter on, lol, crying with laughter emoji. So I don't know whether Kate is trolling us slightly there or whether she's trolling... Maybe she's trolling Tim. Maybe she thinks we're not wittering. Maybe she thinks it's absolutely startling good sense.
I think it's why people like us. We do this thing quite well. We witter on. Sometimes we say something profound. Sometimes we say something very personal. Sometimes we say something very funny. Sometimes we say something inappropriate.
Sometimes we just talk about our holidays, although we had sort of said we weren't going to.
Well, anyway, thank you for listening, everybody. Ed's going to play us out with something wonderful.
Yeah, but you got to do because I've got to do California Dreaming. So you have to put in, I say all the leaves are brown. You got to sing all the leaves are brown.
Okay,
so it's going to be like. All the leaves are brown.
All the leaves are brown.
And the sky is grey.
And the sky is grey.
I went for a walk. On a winter's day.
On a winter's day.
I'll be safe and warm.
I'll be safe and warm.
If I was in LA.
If I was in LA.
California dreaming.
California
on such a winter's day. Stopped into a church. I passed along the way.
I passed along the way.
When I got down on my knees. I got to pray. The teacher liked the cold. He knows I'm gonna stay. California dreaming on such a winter's day. Then there's a flute solo. I'm just making up. I don't know if you can tell. All the leaves are brown.
All the leaves are brown.
And the sky is grey.
And the sky is grey.
I went for a walk on a winter's day.
Winter's day.
I didn't tell her.
And if I didn't tell her,
I could leave today.
I could leave today.
California dreaming on such a winter's day. California dreaming on a winter's day. One more altogether, big finish. California dreaming on such a winter's day.
Oh, I wish I could sing and I wish I could play.
You need to get the Korg out, mate. That'd have been amazing with its glitchy Korg stylings.
Korg, I've got to get the Korg going. Yeah, got to get glitchy Korg. I've got
Korg-tastic.
We're gonna. I don't want to overrun much, but
no.
I've got vinyl now. I've been in London. I've been buying vinyl at Reckless Records.
It's a bad habit.
And sounds. It's just need a little collection. just for my evenings. It is a bad habit, but I've been interesting. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. So thanks for listening, everybody. I'll get my tech sorted out and news sorted out for next week, and we'll talk about going back to school and all the wonderful joys of seeing children in front of us. And
because
we'll
right
talk
now, a lot of people have got back to school dread, haven't they? And I have. I don't know if you have, but there's that creeping dread. Have I forgotten how to do my job? Well, I don't know if you're having dreams of.
I think the thing is, we all get the groove on together, don't we, with the children and the teachers. I think it's when you have a long break off, and with all the other stuff that goes on, then it's impossible. There's been some messages about, for ECTs or NQTs or whatever they're called these days. There's no way you'll ever get to the bottom of the to-do list. There's no way you will be good enough in lesson 1, and you'll be even better in lesson 3, and you'll be absolutely cooking on gas by lesson 10. And that's the way it goes. You just get the groove going gradually.
It's going to be fine, but the people who are listening to us, let's be honest with you, the people who need to hear that are not listening to us. People who listen to us are all like, I don't know, how do I say this? I was going to say like grizzled. They're not grizzled, they're fresh, but they are experienced. They're experienced.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, it'd be nice, wouldn't it, for the young kids to listen to us old farts a bit occasionally? They might learn something from us wise old bearded wonders.
Oh, God. Can you imagine? What would they learn?
Well, I don't know. Learn how to be old before their time. Maybe. No, probably not. You got to do it your way and in your own time.
You got to go your own way. Maybe that's one for next week.
Next week.
You can go your own way.
Right, should we say good night?
Good night, everybody.
I can't get the outro to play either, so
okay.
Tom's going to edit it for me. Take care, everyone.
I'll do an outro. It is the end of the show. Go to bed.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.